Get ready for the smackdown.
Amazing. It's interesting with the whole War Machine storyline because he's there and he's not. And in Civil War, he was a huge aspect.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but he was also mentioned in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
It was a very, very quick nod where they said, "Oh, I came and healed this person." He was wearing a giant. It was. He was
James
driving
Road,
along
yeah.
on the road in the car, and they were going through all the people. And the one he found interesting was the guy in this big suit of armor that had his head crushed in or something.
Yeah,
an American soldier, but they don't know where the armor came from. So that's definitely a nod to War Machine.
Yeah, and I think they even mention his name. So I think he says Rhodes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And he goes like Colonel James Rhodes, and I think I didn't realize that until someone mentioned it again, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember that scene, but I might need to rewatch that to actually hear them actually say that because, like I said, I didn't realize they said that until someone mentioned it to me. And I love how they do these little sneak peeks. Like, for example, in The Winter Soldier, they mention Stephen Strange in it. And when they're trying to antagonize the guy, Captain America and Black Widow, and he goes, oh, everyone on Hydra's list, and one person they say is Dr. Stephen Strange, and I got that straight away. I'm just like, oh, that's Dr. Strange. And it's really interesting because that movie was probably 2011, 12 or something.
Yeah, it was a really long time ago, so we knew it was coming. But in saying that, we also know that Marvel's been chasing Benedict Cumberbatch for an incredibly long time, so it's possibly that they originally had plans that he would just say yes straight away. But he turned it down, and so I think I've got a feeling that that's the reason why, and then they're finally brought it up.
I have to ask you this, man. What did you think of Ant-Man with Paul Rudd?
Look, I think it was a good design movie. I think the way that Paul Rudd portrayed was fantastic. But I just think that I think they went a bit overboard in special effects and things like that. They really missed out the whole point of the actual Ant-Man.
He
has so much power and so much capability. He's one of the most powerful, and a lot of people don't know this, but he's one of the most powerful people in the MCU. And he was kind of like, hey, you're an Ant-Man, piss off. Like,
But I remember when they first actually cast I was about to say Scott Lang, but that's his character. But when they casted Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, I was very interested because, like, I always trust with who Marvel casts for their characters and all that. And I know that Paul Rudd has done a lot of comedic stuff. Like, I haven't seen him in a lot of serious roles. And even though, like, Marvel has a bit of humor, at the end of the day, it's like a superhero movie which has a bit of seriousness in it, and they need to know how to play the character. And I thought Paul Rudd, when I watched the movie, it's actually one of my favourite solo movies as one of the side movies so far. And even Michael Douglas as Hank Pym, I loved how they actually mentioned that he was the original Ant-Man. I really thought that was good because I didn't want them in a way to say that Scott Lang was the first, because in the comics he isn't. Like, it goes Hank Pym was the first and then Scott Lang was the second. I can't remember who the third one is after that, but I don't know if they'll get into that. But I really did enjoy how they actually said, oh, well, Hank Pym was actually the first Ant-Man. He was the one
to the comics,
and that's another thing which was really interesting, that a lot of people say, oh, are they actually really comic related and all that? And I'm just like, I just have to go, what? I'm just like, really?
It's like any movie. A lot of people read the books, people watch the comics and go, it's not realistic because on page 452 of issue 33, that didn't happen. Well, guess what? If they entitled every single comic into that one movie, it will probably be like a 12-hour movie. Like, no one would watch it. So you got to kind of understand from their point of view, they can't do that. And in all honesty, the stuff that's in the comics that you might look at and go, oh, that's entertaining, the conversations and stuff they're having, you remember in a movie, that might be like a 40-minute kind of dialogue. Like, that would be so crap. The only, like, I don't know, it's hard to say because there are things in the comics that definitely should be in the movie, from what I've heard from a lot of people, because I actually don't read the comics, I just watch the movies and think they're freaking awesome. But in the same token, they've kind of got to make a movie that's entertaining.
Well, that's it. And very interesting fact, I don't know if you knew this, but with Captain America Civil War, when after Tony Stark does the talk to the uni students and then he gets approached by the mother, that was actually a different adaptation to what happens in the comics, because in the Civil War comics, it starts when he's at the funeral because of the people who died during the Stanford incident, and the Stanford incident was technically where which is what kicked off the Civil War, like
Yeah.
the same way where
But they wanted the treaties.
yeah, and he was approached by a mother whose son passed away
Yeah.
during that incident, and she actually called him a Tony Stark a murderer in the comics, and the same way in the movie where he
Yeah.
was approached and he got handed a photo of her son and going, you know, how are you going to avenge my son? You know, his death is on you and all that, and then that just shook Tony Stark to his core,
Yeah.
and that really is what opened his eyes. In the same way, that's actually what happened in the comics, where he was approached by someone saying that it was his responsibility when really it actually was not him who did it in a way. But it was really interesting, all these little bits and pieces, because before I actually saw Civil War, I read the comic.
Yeah.
And I actually could point out these scenes going like, oh, well, that actually was done in a similar way and all that. And so I do agree that with Marvel, what they do is, a lot of the time as well, they actually, when they hire an actor to do a role, they go, you need to buy these comics to research a character. It is important and all that. Like, for example, Kristen Ritter, who is Jessica Jones, she was interviewed asking about her role, and she goes, well, this was my first comic book movie, and this is the first comic I have ever read in my whole life. Yeah. So she actually went out and bought and read the Alias comic series, which is what Jessica Jones is based on, to actually figure out who a character is. And I know Chadwick, who plays Black Panther, has done it. Brie Larson has had a photo released of her reading a comic in a Captain Marvel t-shirt, which I don't know if you've seen that, but it's like really cool. She's just chilling on a couch just reading Captain Marvel. But they do that with all the actors so that they can study for the role, because
but a lot of things that a lot of people don't realise, and this is one thing that's I kind of looked at and go, that's brilliant. Marvel, when they started pulling all these comic books out and stuff, like when were the first ones started pulled out?
The first movie?
The first comic books.
Oh, man,
1950s,
like 1960s.
1950s, 60s. So people who are Robert Downey Jr., who are 50 years old, they would have read those comics when they're kids. So they can look back at that and go, wow, this was my child superhero. I used to read their comics. I'm now acting them, which is fantastic to see.
And because Marvel's been going on for ages. I mean, I think they just recently celebrated Captain America's gosh, I can't remember how many years he's been around, but I'll probably, in the video, I'll put the number of how many years he's been around for, but they just recently celebrated that at Comic-Con, and they actually put a statue in Brooklyn of Captain America, because that's where he's from, in the comics, is Brooklyn. And, but they've been around for such a long time, and same with DC. Like, DC have been around for ages, and even, I know I'm bringing DC into this, but like, in the same way, Ben Affleck has researched himself as the Batman. Like, he actually looked back on how he will play the role and everything like that, and even directing his own Batman movie, I think he's going to be researching the comics as well. Yeah,
and that's something they need to do for their job, obviously. It's vital, it's like any job, you need to research your job. Most people, that's books and online study and boring stuff. For them, it's reading comic books.
Yeah, and that's it. And it was really fun. I think the funniest photo that someone had released of themselves reading a comic was Chadwick, Black Panther. He was actually dressed in his Black Panther outfit, laying on a couch, and he's just reading a Black Panther comic, just chilling and all that. And I'm just like, I think that was definitely the funniest photo.
Probably staged.
But it just looked so good. And but it is really interesting when you go into these discussions with people saying, is it comic related? Is it a comic book movie and all that? But in a way, it's kind of in between in a way, because they do research the comics. A lot of their, I mean, like I know that X-Men is based from 20th Century Fox, but even Days of Future Past, that was based on a massive comic event, which was based on the Days of Future Past X-Men comic book. Apocalypse, the new movie, was based on when they fought Apocalypse.
And that's been around for ages. And I'll add to that too, like when I was, I think, 10 or 11, I used to play PlayStation 2, and my favourite game was X-Men Legends Age of Apocalypse, and it was wicked. And to see the movie, I'm like, yes, that's exactly what happened. Isn't it just insane, And it's kind of like the passing of the torch for the new generation of X-Men, that movie was, because, actually, Days of Future Past was kind of like their way of Yeah,
passing
Days
the torch.
of Future Past was good because they kind of built on it after First Class kind of went down that shithole.
That wasn't a good movie.
But Apocalypse, and I think that really was just there just to set it up, and then Days of Future Past and Apocalypse just blew it away.
Yeah, like I think after the Wolverine, which was average, First Class, that was a bit average as well.
Yeah.
I think 20th Century Fox like had a lot of pressure to bring back the X-Men because after those two movies made and they weren't as successful, I felt like they would have had a lot of pressure, but actually to bring back Bryan Singer, who directed the first two X-Men, and then he also came back to direct Apocalypse and Days of Future Past, which was a fantastic movie. And then Apocalypse was really good as well. I don't think it was as good, but it was still better than what they had done before. I'm actually glad that they brought back Bryan Singer to direct these movies because he knows a lot about the comics. He knows how to structure them. And it actually makes me feel a little bit more better about 20th Century Fox with X-Men because, I mean, I know with Fantastic Four they've been, have you seen the latest Fantastic Four?
Yeah,
that's really all we can say. I think
there's a guy downstairs drawing paintings. I think he was actually more entertaining to watch. Look, Fantastic Four, it's a good idea. Like the original like the original series, the comic book was good. I just don't think it would work in a movie because it was the whole thing is Fantastic Four, and still people again don't realise that comic book series is aimed at 20, 30-year-olds like a lot of the other Marvel ones are. It's aimed at 10-year-olds. So when we're watching it, we're sitting there going, wow, this is such a kiddie type movie. Oh, hang on, because it actually is.
I think but the first two Fantastic Four movies with
the original, not the originals, but
the originals were actually decent. Like I actually didn't mind the way they structured it. It wasn't that bad. But I think the only thing I had to say was with Galactus
and Silver Surfer.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't mind Silver Surfer actually. Like the guy who played Silver Surfer was actually pretty decent.
I reckon it was good. The only thing I didn't like about Silver Surfer was his powers were nowhere near. Like Silver Surfer is one of the most top, I think, 30 most powerful people in the MCU, or in the Marvel comics in general.
Yeah.
And without a surfboard, we can just go punch him in the face. Like he's not that weak. He has the ability to destroy planets. He has the ability he took on Thanos. Like he had the ability to take on people like Galactus, like the other cosmic entities, some of the most powerful beings in the universe. But without his surfboard, you can literally punch him in the face, and it's cute.
He was like the servant of Galactus, one of the many.
He was the main herald of Galactus, so.
And because Galactus knew how strong he was, and with Galactus being the eater of worlds and having Silver Surfer on his side, man, that's like one powerful team you've got
that's
there.
It. And that was the idea. And it'd be interesting to see how if they actually do put the Silver Surfer in the whole Infinity War
that would
kind of thing, because he plays a huge role there in the comics and stuff, but he's not how they're going to do it. Like, we already know that they've been able to get people like Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch into that MCU, so I wonder if they're going to do the Silver Surfer in a similar way.
Well, that's it. And, speaking on the topic of those two, actually, I love Elizabeth Olsen as Scarlet Witch is incredible. Like, I think she does such a great job.
She was a great actor,
Yeah, and I'm disappointed to see that they killed off Aaron Taylor-Johnson as Quicksilver, because I thought, because I know that they have another Quicksilver in the X-Men universe, and he's good and all that, but
he's actually a better actor, though, I reckon.
I thought, and even the look, I've actually studied into the looks of both of them, and they actually have a really good take on it. But there's a lot of speculation that Aaron Taylor-Johnson was actually booked for more movies, so there's actually a bit of a speculation, and even Aaron Taylor-Johnson himself has actually said, if they want me to come back, I will come back in a heartbeat.
So it might be interesting if they bring back Quicksilver in a way. We all know that in the MCU, if someone's dead, they're not dead. Anything could happen.
And that's the thing. I mean, I actually had a lot of people say about this is that they don't have a meaningful death where people don't stay dead in the universe, because you have Phil Coulson, who's still alive, Pepper Potts, who came back to life. Who else?
Phil Coulson was probably the biggest one, because he was blasted through the chest, but he comes back and Agents of Shield, and it makes sense. It'll be interesting to me because
Come on, let's kick it. Let's all get wicked. Put your hands in the sky for a one-way ticket. Come on!